Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast, hosted by yours truly, Misty Magdalena Grace, also known as Magical Mags. I am an abundance alchemist, helping you alchemize fear into love, pain into purpose, scarcity or lack into abundance, so that you can live your best life, your best health, your best wealth, your best relationships by trusting your best wisdom within. Please enjoy the show, like and subscribe, and leave a review if you see value in this amazing show. And feel free to stay in till the end. You may have a surprise gift waiting for you on the other side of this episode. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is actually my first guest in a minute. It's already September 25th, which is hard to believe. We are already full into eclipse season, and we are moving into October. And normally, if you've been following me since I've been going for 5 years, every September, I've always had 4 to 6 guests to honor Suicide Awareness Month, to bring awareness, to help break the stigma. And this is actually the first of only 2 this month. And I'm just really excited to dive into really the conversation of grief recovery today. So if you are new to my channel, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever, and of course in iTunes later. Just really appreciate your support. And honestly, you may save a life when you share a podcast like this today, because we have a very, very, very powerful guest in Tim Ringgold, my brother from another mother, who I'll introduce here shortly. And we just want to really, of course, bring awareness to this cause that is near and dear to my heart. I actually didn't realize when I scheduled Tim today. Today is the 19th anniversary of my first friend who chose to take his life. And so if you have lost someone recently or years and years and years ago, we know that grief can always linger. And even as I think of my friend today, there's still, some grief in my heart for his family left behind. And it's just such a great topic to have as my first suicide awareness today. So Tim, I'm going to introduce you now. And Tim actually really blew my mind with his singing and his musical abilities. And so you guys, I don't think we're going to sing today, Tim, but I know you guys are in for a treat. So, of course, he's got tools.
Who, me?
Beautiful. Well, here's a question for you. Have you ever had a song change your mood before the song was even over? Then you know that music, which is part of what we're going to talk about today, is a powerful tonic for emotional pain and heartache. My guest today knows this all too well. He's a board-certified music therapist with a certificate in hospice and palliative care music therapy. And he's been facilitating grief retreats since 2007. I believe he has one coming up in San Diego pretty soon, so he'll have to tell us about that. He's also the author of the book Sonic Recovery, Harness the Power of Music to Stay Sober. Tim was the first person to give a TEDx talk on music therapy in 2012, and is a former regional president of the American Music Therapy Association. When he's not helping people reach for music during their toughest times, you can find him on a pickleball court. He's a super duper champion, thinking he's still 18, or cheering on his beloved Arsenal Football Club. Joining me from the city of Orange. Yes, there's a city, not just a county, named Orange. I have been there. Please welcome my brother from another mother, Tim Ringgold. Yay!
Let's go. Hello.
I'm so excited. I know you have a very powerful story. I'm going to just let you dive in, and we'll have a great conversation.
Oh man. Well, thanks so much, Magdalena, for having me. It's a joy for us to spend time together. And you know that when we met, I said, we'll be getting up to some stuff together. I might have said we might be getting up to some shit together.
Yeah.
And so here we are. I'm very excited for us to share this time. Because it's a topic that no one wants to talk about, but everybody experiences, which is grief. There's 3 types of people out there. There's people who have grieved, people who are grieving, or people who will grieve. And as The Onion likes to say, death toll still holds at 100%. None of us get out of here alive. Now, I get out of paying a lot of taxes because I've got a great accountant, but I don't get out of death. And neither do any of us. And basically the way I think about it is we're all just racing each other back to heaven. That's all that's really happening. We're all just racing each other back to heaven, and we don't know the score. We don't know how it's going to end up. We don't know who's going to beat each other. And it's really great for those who win. and is really great for those left behind, or really awful for those left behind. So we're just really mad because we didn't get there first, and to say it lightly. But this is a topic that's usually so dour and so morbid that for me, the word play is my verb. I play for a living, I play sports, I play music. And so I feel like we have to play around with the idea of life and its mirror, which is death, because, well, there's the central theme of our story is life and death is what gives life meaning. Without it, there would be no urgency to do anything. And so that operates on us subconsciously. And when we lose, if we loved, it hurts. If we didn't love, yeah, there's obituaries written in every newspaper around the country. I'm not reading any of them, and I'm not losing sleep over any of them because I didn't lose anyone I loved. There was no connection there. And if you think about humans as social animals, that's the type of mammal we are. We're pack animals. Every death is a social amputation. You lose a piece of your social self because you are the sum of your social connections. So when someone is ripped from you without your consent or permission, that part of you is amputated. It's stolen from you. And that amputation, the pain you feel from the loss of that connection, that disconnection, that's called grief. And it's an emotional wound like any other, and time does not heal grief, sister. It just buries it. But humans are designed to heal 100% from grief. Built in to our nature to heal from grief. Now, it leaves a scar just like any other, wound. When I was I was a Boy Scout as a kid. I grew up in Connecticut in the woods, and my brother was a Boy Scout before me. And so it was like, ooh, Boy Scouts. So I'm 11 and I joined the Boy Scouts, and I get a Swiss Army knife that has the 2-inch penknife blade on one side and like the saw on the other and little scissors. It's a very handy little thing. But let me just tell you, as a parent, there's no way in hell I'd give my 11-year-old, or he's 14 now, but when he was 11, there's no way he's getting a Swiss Army knife. Like, he's going to lop off a finger in seconds. Well, I almost did too. And sure enough, I remember plunging this penknife into my thigh on my first camp out because I was using the little saw on the other side to try to saw a piece of wood, and the penknife was open on the opposite side. Thunk. Plunged into my thigh. That was embarrassing. I was so embarrassed, I didn't tell anybody I did it because I didn't want anyone to know that Tommy Tenderfoot over here just plunged a 2-inch blade into his thigh on his first camp out. So I actually never told a soul. And for the longest time, that shit hurt. Shock. But I didn't tell anybody. Luckily, it didn't get infected.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
It luckily, no infection. And it scabbed over and then eventually scarred over. And, if I put on my reading glasses, I can still see the scar. I can touch the scar. I know it's there. I know how I got it. I know the whole story, but I can tell the story as a joke today. There's no pain in the story. I just have a memory of it. Grief tracks very similarly. I can tell you the story of my dog Lady, my first loss. I could tell you what that was like when my brother got out of the car with just her collar in his hand. And I heard the collar, so I thought there was hope. And then when he came around the corner of the car and I saw it was just her collar, I knew it was gone. Now, Lady, we had Lady before my parents had me. And my siblings are like 7, 9, and 10 years older than me. And so that was my sibling. I grew up with Lady, and that was my first loss. And I just, melted into my mom's arms, sobbing. I remember that story. I don't have any pain now, but I remember it very, very clearly, right? And because luckily I had a great mentor in my mom, who was a therapist who would, encourage me to feel my feelings. And it turns out that's the tonic for grief. Feel it, you got to feel it. And as a musician, I love shit that rhymes. So you're welcome.
Well, it's perfect
That,
because just so you know, I say that all the time. You can't heal it if you don't feel it. So you got a great audience here for that.
there you go. See? So preaching to the choir. Yeah. And as I went through my life and with each successive loss, and there's this, the resume is long. You know, I lost my 5 best friends to, they were all murdered. They were executed when I was 22 years old on the same day by the same guy. And I went to 5 funerals in 4 days. Like, who does that, you know? And then my dad died 2 years later, then my daughter died, then my stepdad died. And so like I've been, you know, intimately, you know, connected to death and to grief. And all I can say is, luckily, I had a good mentor along the way to teach me how to grieve well. And you can grieve well and you can grieve poorly. And I think people can die well and they can die poorly. And I think they can live well and they can live poorly. And so I think those are worth examining as humans is how do I want to live? Right. So do I take care of myself physically, mentally, socially, spiritually? How do I want to die? What do I want my life to look like at the end, and the role that death dualists can play in us having agency and sovereignty around how we choose to complete this journey? I think that's beautiful. I was so lucky my dad passed away in hospice. He died of cancer when I was 25, and he died at home with Enya playing on cassette in his room. And it was like having the voice of angels in the room with my dad. And as a musician at the time, I was like, man, if there was some way that I could be the soundtrack of somebody's transformation from life to afterlife, that would be like the highest use of my God-given gifts. Happy to say, many years later, I didn't know music therapy was a thing. I didn't know music therapists were a thing. And it crossed my path, and I pivoted immediately, changed my life in my 30s, went back to school full time for 5 years straight, including a 6-month unpaid internship with a wife and a small kid in tow. And I've been the soundtrack of people's transformation, including my own daughters. And so it's been a privilege to be in such a sacred place. And I'll never forget the first person who I provided that for was one of our church members. And the next time I saw his wife, we just hugged in church, you know, we're crying. And I just said, thank you for letting me be in such a sacred space, which was being in the hospital room when they took her husband off life support. And I used my guitar to drive the sounds, those awful clinical sounds, out of the room and replace it with melody. And I sang a song, a hymn that I had written called His Love is Everlasting. And it's all about the idea that no matter where you are in your journey, that connection, it's right there waiting to happen. You can pick the noun that works for you. I use the word God. You can say universe. You can say spirit. For me, it's all interchangeable, and I'm open to affirming all beliefs. And so there's this great comfort in knowing that even at the 11th hour, if you want to say, I don't know what's coming next, but if you're out there, could you hold me? And that energy is literally waiting there going, I got you. And so I was playing this song in his hospital room. And when I told her, thank you, she said, no, you don't understand. You're the one who made it sacred. And it wasn't me, Tim, it was the music. And the music, Magdalena, as you know so well, the music is this gift from God that we've walked through the entire human lifespan experience utilizing as community. It creates community. It's how we celebrate rites of passage. It's how we comfort through times of suffering. It's been there. It's in every known and discovered culture. There's no culture that we've ever discovered that doesn't have music as a center of its society. All moms sing to their babies in all cultures, and they all sing the same melody. Step, 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 drop, step, 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 drop. Words are meaningless because the kids don't have language, but all moms intuitively sing the same patterns throughout culture. So we know music is, what makes us human. And so to be able to use this as the tool to help people through their toughest time, it's great.
I love it. Yeah. And a lot of people know my story, but just to reiterate too, I had so many deaths over a period of time, like 12 years, and my parents, my brother, friends, it was just so much. Even Prince, hello, everyone knows I'm a Prince fan. I was like depressed for months after that. And just that lack of recovery. Actually, I stopped working out. I started drinking heavily. I didn't sing almost ever. I didn't have a spiritual connection. So I can say firsthand that if I hadn't discovered or rediscovered music through my grief recovery, I don't know if I'd be here. You know,
Yeah.
mantras, all that stuff are just like so, so important to me. So what are your key, I guess, if you had like your best tips or best practices for people when it comes to getting music back into their life when they're feeling just like totally lost and sad and depressed?
Yeah. Humans are interesting with our relationship with music. It seems like we go through kind of a high tide experience of fandom from about 14 to 24 years of age, where music very much acts as a social glue and helps us to imprint in a sub community, like the rockers, the punkers, you like find your music, you find your people, you find your tribe within the tribe. And then we go on this deep dive into this passionate discovery of music. And it really helps us like shape who we are. Like, this is my soundtrack. And then the kind of like the high tide kind of starts to recede, and we get busy as adults, and we kind of trade albums for podcasts and talk radio. And if you're a guy, sports talk radio, and audiobooks, if you still call them audiobooks, and so we start listening to people talk instead of listening to people music. And I'll never forget the first time I heard someone use the word music as a verb, and I was like, oh, good grief. But it's just the easiest way to say it. When we're making music, when we're musicking as a verb, like, what's happening there? It's magic, and it's magic for the user, and it's magic for the listener. It's the gift that gives in both directions. And so for our culture, we tend to be a culture of music listeners. Somewhere along the way, we kind of created this myth of talent, like that there's some sort of gene that you need to have in order to be musical. And that's not true. Anybody can be musical because you are a walking rhythm machine. You run on rhythm, which is the backbone of music. So everybody scratches in perfect rhythm. So if you can scratch an itch, you can shake a shaker, which means you can be musical. So everybody's musical, and everybody sighs. And if you can sigh, you can sing. So these are just the kind of the myths in our culture that have divorced us from being able to music ourselves or just make the music ourselves. So we tend to have this experience like others do it better than me. And we kind of get fixated on certain music or certain style or certain artists. And we kind of walk away from it after a while. And there's no point at which it's too late to go back to music. And so there's a couple of things you can do today and make it really easy to help you, particularly in grief. One of the hardest things about grief, Magdalena, is the part of our brain where we mind wander, where we're thinking about the past or we're thinking about the future, we're daydreaming. That little gear is on autopilot. It's running all the time. It's called the default mode network. And mind wandering is automatic for the human brain. Focus requires activation. So I have to activate my focus to be present. I'm not naturally present, nor are you, nor is anyone. So everybody struggles with staying present because it's a physical activity. You have to physically stay present. Well, how do we do that? I'm going to show you a super easy way you can do it with music, because it is so easy to mind wander into the future about what's going to happen if, what's going to happen when, how am I going to deal with this, blah, 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 blah. And all of that kind of thinking produces anxiety because the future is unknowable. You can't know what's coming tomorrow. I don't even know what's coming at 5 o'clock today. Can't. So the brain doesn't like to think about things that it doesn't know. It wants the answer, and it drives it nuts to kind of perseverate on that. Winds it up. Similarly, the past, well, that's unchangeable. And that's where all the coulda, shoulda, wouldas are sitting there, right? And that's where the shame and the regret and the resentment and the guilt about the stuff that should have happened but didn't, or the stuff that shouldn't have happened but did, all that's happened in the past. And the past is unchangeable. And that's a feeling of powerlessness that causes depression. And so the human brain, can get stuck in either of those areas during grief, which makes the suffering, extra rough. So to the listener, if you find yourself mind wandering and you want to come back to the present, there's a super easy hack for this, as the kids say. And so what you do is this: put on a piece of music. Doesn't matter if you know it. It could be new or familiar. But instead of putting it on in the background and then doing whatever you're doing, listen to the music itself like it's the subject matter of your focus, right? You're focusing on the music, and pick one instrument within the music and listen for just that instrument and try to block out the other instruments. It's hard on the brain to do this. And then once you hear it, physically tap, snap, or clap, hum, rap, or sing along with that one instrument in the mix. Here's what happens. One, your body, it's always present, unlike your mind. So anytime you do something that requires your dexterity, your focus drops right into the present. Two, music's time-based. The beat is changing every 2 to 4 bars. The melody is changing all the time. The lyrics are changing. The chords are changing, right? So it's constantly changing. So it's just to try to stay with it, you stay present. So I'll give you a real world example of this. My baby daughter, Bella, passed away in 2010 from a rare genetic disease. And one day I was driving down the freeway on her birthday. And if you've ever lost someone, as you know, we were talking about today being a special day. Holidays, anniversaries are different than just Mondays or Tuesdays. So I was already feeling a little down. And what do I see on the freeway? I see a billboard for the hospital she had been in. Now, I'm on a freeway I've been a million times, going somewhere I've been before, where, I'm on autopilot, let's be honest. So where's my mind 1 second later? Is it still in the car or is it back in the hospital? Of course, it's back in the hospital, right? Now I'm reliving one of the 2 worst experiences of my life, and my mood is crashing, right? Now, for me, as a person in recovery, feelings associated with grief are a massive trigger for me, because recovery is all about dealing with feeling. And like addiction is all about avoiding. So now I'm feeling things I don't like to feel, which means I'm at risk. And I'm like, well, you're the music guy. Lock in, walk the walk. So I'm like, okay, what's playing? There's music on in the car. I put music on. What is it? Well, it was a playlist of like low-key dance EDM music. And so I was like, okay, what are the drums doing? So I was like, just listen to the drums. Okay. It's dance music. So there's like a nice steady beat. So that the kick drum's got a nice pulse. So my left foot I just start tapping the beat. I drive an automatic transmission. My left foot does nothing. So like tapping the beat, and like, okay. And if you ever been in the car, Magdalena, and like, you listen to a track and it's got a really good groove and you just start playing like steering wheel drums, just, for fun. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be the hi-hat. This will be the snare. And it was like dance music. So the hi-hat's like off time. So it's like, oh yeah, I got that. But where's the snare? Now I'm listening for it. It's kind of buried. It's like, oh, it's because it's every 4th beat. That's cool. 10 seconds later, I'm having 0 thoughts or feelings about my daughter.
Oh.
Yeah. Now the kicker is, what is it that brought me back? Was it the music or was it the tapping? What do you think?
Both.
Winner. Yes. Trick question.
Well, you're asking a Kundalini yogi, so as you were doing, I was thinking Satanama, like
yes, exactly. Translate into your own practice for sure. 100%. It was both, because the music was playing when I saw the billboard. So music listening does not keep us present. Music listening is very dissociative. It takes us away. Calgon, take me away. We listen to music specifically to dissociate. That's music listening. Active music listening is to take us to feel something different than what we're feeling in the moment, or more of what we're feeling, or just like take me into your world. Like we've all done it. We've all put on music to take us somewhere else, make us feel something different.
Oh yeah,
right?
I did it all the
So
time. Yeah, as a kid
100%.
especially. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why a lot of people will drink and listen to music. I've done that.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Glory days. So we're a culture of music listeners. So it's not intuitive for us to physically engage with the music. So to physically engage with the music pulls the brain out of that past or that future shitstorm and brings it back into the present moment.
Hmm.
And by the way, you didn't have to call your therapist. Like it's 10 seconds. There's no side effects. It works immediately. You can do it anywhere. No one knows what you're doing. Now, the real thing is like people will be like, well, I'm not a musician. It's like, well, was I performing for anybody? No, I was alone in my car. And if I didn't share the story, no one would know it ever happened.
No,
I'm just a guy, in recovery trying to stay present. So music is a great tool when you remember to reach for it.
it's amazing. I love it. Can you speak to, because I know this is what I would, first thing that came to mind, obviously I do have mantra therapy in my, back pocket, like Gregorian chanting, like there's all these different hertz, like 532 hertz is a very common one on YouTube. What are your thoughts about what you just shared and listening to those specific, hertz or, mantras in comparison?
My training is not in any of those related fields. So
Yep.
sound therapy is not music therapy.
Yeah.
And I say, if it works, do it again.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I can articulate the neuroscience behind what's happening in the brain and the body and the nervous system with music being the
Yep.
organ, the gestalt of organized sound, the totality of it. And then other traditions have taken single frequencies or single pitches, isolated those, used those purposefully. And for me, the purposeful use of any of the elements of music, which is just organized sound, to achieve some sort of non-musical outcome, then that's a therapeutic use of that tool. And if it's working for you, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Beautiful. Awesome. Any other like final tip that you haven't already shared that could benefit, especially knowing that this is Suicide Awareness Month and there's the rates are continuing to go. And I think not that any death is worse than another, right?
Yep.
It's just I
That's
think
correct.
there's for me having had many different deaths and old age pets also, I feel like there's such a compound effect. And when it's someone that does take their own life, there's, I think, an extra dose of guilt, shame, and other emotions that come with it. That's just been my personal experience.
Yeah.
What do you say around that level of grief? If there is anything else that you could share.
Yeah. My heart goes out to everybody who grieves because every grief is both universal and unique. And it's not quantitative, it's qualitative.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with the game Would You Rather?
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
would you rather have a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? Right? It's what? What? Well, would you rather flows into the grief world all the time
Yeah.
because people will compare that they'd rather their loved one had not died suddenly. So they could have said goodbye, except for the person who's sitting next to them on my grief retreat, whose loved one, they had to watch them wither over years and die slowly before they died. Is like, man, I would love my loved one to have lived until the day they were dead. And so there is no easy way out.
Oh,
Right. And so it's like every situation is unique and universal. The nature of your relationship with that person is unique. So even for families, like the nature of the relationship between a parent and one child is different than the relationship between a parent and a different child. And two children's relationships with one parent are also different relationships. So their grief is different and the same at the same time. That may sound like a conundrum, and it is. And that the point is that grief is complex, it's heavy, and if it feels hard, it's because it is.
yeah.
But the good news is it's not permanent unless you make it that way. If you decide your grief is your badge of love for your loved one. And since you never want to lose your love for your loved one, you never want to lose your grief. That is your choice. I honor that. There are different ways to express your love for your loved one besides holding on to your grief. That is not required to hold on to your love. Your love and your grief are two different things. And so I just want to encourage people who have lost loved ones that it's okay to feel okay, and it's good to feel good, and it's great to feel great. And that's exactly what your loved one would want you to feel.
I can't agree more. I mean, because I see people grieving for decades, and
Yep.
like every anniversary is hard, or every birthday, every
Yep.
holiday is hard. And I feel like because I didn't know about grief recovery until like, 15 years after that, tragic first loss. And
Mhm.
um, I could see what it did to my body. I personally believe, heart attacks, congestive heart failure, grief and anger oftentimes are connected, right?
Totally.
And then, like you said, depression, anxiety, like, oh my gosh, big pharma, they just like are lying in wait for you if you don't let go, right?
Yep.
And I've gotten to a point, and then I want you to share, I've gotten to a point where I have an ancestral altar. All of my past loved ones are there. I get excited, when I connect with them now. I joke I get along with them better on the other side than over here, when they're around. But again, not to, sound,
It's
that probably
okay.
terrible to some people, but at the end of the day, like I celebrate the anniversaries now of their passing, and honor them without, completely unraveling. So I don't know
Yep.
if you have anything else that you want to add to that, specific to music therapy or just in general.
Yeah. Thanks. The two things that come to mind, one is around faith and what do you think's happening? What do you think's going on right now? What are we doing here? Um, it's an existential question. And I have noticed that what people think about how it's what's happening, their faith of, because there's no empirical knowledge or proof of what's happening that we can all agree on. So it's really in the domain of belief. Like that's a gift you give yourself. Like no one can make you believe something without your permission and agreement, and no one can take away what you believe from you without your agreement. So your beliefs, your faith in whatever's happening in here, out there, wherever we are, that's yours, and you get to own that. And I just invite people to really think through that, because that, in my experience, has absolutely influenced, colored, and transformed the trajectory of people's healing. Um, only from the side of the idea being, you beat me back, I'll be there in the blink of an eye. This is all an illusion.
Mm,
I
beautiful.
will literally see you like that.
Mm,
It's going to be that. The moment I'm there, this will all feel like that. That is a place to reside. It's not the truth. It's just a framework. Now, for me, I love that shit, because my reunion with my daughter and my dad, it's coming. It's going to be a blink of an eye. And that comforts me. Great.
mhm,
So examining what you
mhm,
believe, because I think the test is this: whatever you believe, if it gives you the courage to get up out of your bed in the morning, and it inspires you to be the best version of yourself this day, this is the only day you're living, and then comforts you enough tonight for your brain to turn off and fall asleep,
mhm,
go, run with that. That's it. But explore, examine, cross-examine, really inquire, because I've watched people just their beliefs completely have transformed their trajectory of their grief. And then the last thing is, um, there was no other way. So all the time people are like, well, if I had just done this differently, or if
mm,
this person had just done that differently,
right.
then it would be different. That is not true. There is no other way. This is where we are. This is how it went. And it couldn't have gone any other way. And the reason why is because this is where we are. And so there's something powerful about that in letting go of the alternate endings, the what could have been, that I have watched every single loved one wrestle with, myself included. If I had just prayed a little harder, if I had just checked in on my loved one, if I had just made that phone call, if I had just not let them blow me off, if I had just whatever, and especially on the other side of suicide, because the reality is none of us are in control, because if we were, our loved ones would still be with us. This was exactly how it was meant to go, because this is where we are. And we're not capable as 5 foot to 6 foot to, humans walking around on a rock in cold, dark space. We're not equipped to be able to understand why at this stage. Maybe we will at some point. That's where faith comes in. The faith that this is part of a grand design or a beautiful painting or a magnus opus, and I'm just a single note within the concerto, or I'm a single brushstroke, or my loved one's life was a single brushstroke within a giant, mural. Like, that's hard for us to wrestle with. But as humans, remember, like, we're just these tiny little things occupying a tiny little space for a tiny little period of time. What do we know? And so some humility in kind of trying on that maybe this is a much bigger picture we don't really know anything about, and that it's all amazing in the end.
Yeah, it reminded me of a beautiful quote from the movie Cloud Atlas, which is all about death and rebirth and reincarnation. I mean, it's beautiful. And they say, the quote goes, "Our lives are not our own. From womb to tomb, we are bound to others. And with every crime and every kindness, we birth our future." So if you believe in soul contracts, it's essentially what it's talking about. At the end of the day, though, we are all sovereign beings, and we can't make choices for other people too. So when we lose someone, even in such a devastating way as suicide, it's like you said, it's almost like we're in a movie, and we're all playing, those roles that Shakespeare said, the world is a stage, and we're all merely players in this game called life, which is, I only have one announcement, and then I want to go into like the closing question and where people can find you. But this is also teeing up nicely. For those who don't know, I've been doing retreats and psilocybin journeys and different things for years. And now I've finally, after 5 years of deep healing of my own grief, losing 13 friends of suicide, brother admitting to alcoholism, going down my own suicidal thoughts, and the grief of all of the life events, my divorce, all of these things. I've learned so much alchemy of how to alchemize grief into gold, divorce into deliverance, and being able to, if you choose to, this retreat coming up at magdalenagrace.com, you can go check it out, is actually the weekend of Halloween, Day of the Dead. Samhain, Samhain. We're going to commune with your ancestors. If you see this gal behind me here, this is Mist, the Valkyrie that I named myself after. Misty, who, she chose, who lived or died, and brought them to Valhalla. We're going to hang out with the ancestors. We're going to work through a lot of the unconscious blocks and limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging behaviors that may be contributing or caused by grief, depression, anxiety, not feeling enough, whatever it is that's holding you back. Sometimes I know I was a martyr, and I allowed the grief and all of the limiting beliefs sometimes to actually, it's like that phrase, get off the cross, we need the wood, right? So I would just like hang myself every day, oh, woe is me, until I was like, I'm fucking done with that. No, I don't want to do that anymore. I was able to get my karma to become my dharma. So if you're looking for a retreat, and I know we're going to talk about your amazing retreat as well, I just wanted to plant that seed, because sign up and registration is already open. People are starting to sign up, and it's really a great time if you're struggling, going back to the whole point of grief being the conversation today. I know my friends, suicide, Prince, all these dead people, my brother, they came to me in the psilocybin journeys, and they actually told me, why they did it, or why it had to be so, because it was their soul contract, and they died so I could live, kind of a thing. Like when I was able to bawl my eyes out and to like really embrace that and accept it, acceptance, right, is so key. it was just so freeing and so liberating. So
Mm,
I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to share that, bringing back
fantastic.
to you. Retreats are huge because yes, you gave some great tips, but sometimes, or maybe a lot of the time, we need a conscious interrupt and we need to get out of the house. We need to be in a safe space and a brave space with other people who maybe are going through the same stuff. Lean on me, right?
Yep.
So I'd love for you to share about your retreat and your free gift you have for everyone today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So kudos to hosting a retreat, and as a fellow retreat space holder and placeholder, and it's a sacred space because grief is a deep well, and you know not to when I say that what I'm about to say, I don't mean to cast aspersion on it, but there's only the depth of the how far down into your well you can dive within a 1 hour therapy session or a 1 hour peer support group or grief support group. You can only dive so far and climb back up to the surface and put yourself back together and towel off. It's only so far you can dive in 60 minutes. So a lot of grief is buried deep in the body, and you've been packing it down for years. And we have people come on retreat, whether it's 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. It's all, you can see it. They walk in the door frozen in their grief. I can see them frozen, their affect, their posture, they're frozen. And over a 3-day period, I watch them thaw. And they are physically and emotionally and spiritually and socially a different person on Sunday morning. And it's a privilege to witness. That's why I love the work. Everyone's like, you're so morbid, it's so heavy. I'm like, no, it's transformation. I'm watching exponential healing. I have a front row seat to 10 to 20 people healing in front of my eyes. Are you kidding? This is great. So I love it. So, but it's the model is part of the magic. Right. So you have the time to slow down and unpack, take off all your character armor, and allow these deep welling feelings to kind of bubble up to the surface in a safe place with others who get it. And on my retreat as a music therapist, it is a music-based approach to grief healing. And so we do a lot of music and we move that energy. Emotion is just energy in motion. Whether I'm playing my Native American flute, whether people are singing or shaking egg shakers or drumming, we are moving that energy. And sometimes you don't have to talk about it if you want to heal it. And that's the beauty of music, is we've all felt a shift before in the middle of a song, and we didn't call our therapist in the middle of the song. So there's great power in using music as a vehicle for healing in a community setting, giving yourself a time container that's sufficient to slow down. My next retreat's at the Mission San Luis Rey in Oceanside, one of those classic California missions. Beautiful, like multiple acres there, nature. We're just in nature. Holy ground is the way I can describe it. People have been walking those tiles for over 100 years, healing whatever's been troubling them. It's a very sacred space, and I'm very privileged to work with the Franciscans. I love the Franciscans, and I work with them in Arizona as well. Our next one in Oceanside is in October. It's the week before yours, so it's like the 24th, 5th, and 6th. It's a Friday night through Sunday morning, and if in the meantime you want some tools to help you through it, I prepared a nice 30-minute video for you called 5 Ways to Heal. And it's some of the best evidence-based stuff out there for how to heal your grief, all shapes and sizes. And you can just go to 5waystoheal.com, the number 5waystoheal.com. And then when you sign up, it asks for your name and your email address. And when you sign up for it, you get the video, and then it'll tell you more about the retreat there as well. So check it out.
Yay, I love it. Yeah, please, check out his website too, timringgold.com. I'll have all of that in the show notes. And of course, so grateful for you being here today. And Tim, I always close with the same question for everyone that has been a first-time guest. When you hear the phrase healthy and wealthy and wise, what does it mean to you?
Well, I think of the self through a prism of 4 tires a physical tire and a mental tire, a social tire, and a spiritual tire. Those are the tires that keep my vehicle, me, moving through time and space. So I think of it immediately through those 4 tires of having air in those tires to where I can go where I want to go, when I want to go there, for the reasons that I want to go there. And I can leave a mark. Like, one of the things I like to think about is that I like to light up every room that I pull into, touch everybody I meet, and leave inspiration in my wake. And so being healthy, wealthy, and wise is like, sounds like the gasoline and the oil, or these days the electricity to keep my car running. So yeah, that's if you've got your eye on those 3 things, then you're probably contributing a lot to yourself and those around you.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom. We always want to bring great guests and wisdom to people to improve your health, your wealth, your relationships. So we have an amazing guest, a sister from another Mr. April Ross, next Tuesday. Tim knows her as well. And she's going to share her vulnerable story around suicide, and then her discovery of herself through Tantra. So super excited for our next guest. Until next time, everyone, again, thank you, Tim, so much for being here today.
Thank you, Magdalena.
Yay. We'll be back singing together soon. All right. Until next time, everyone, here's to your best health, your best wealth by trusting your best wisdom within. Bye-bye for now.